Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to my reading journal. This is the first video I've posted for my reading journal. In this video, I'll show you the setup of my February theme and I'll do the setup for one of my reading spreads. The first thing I'll do for this setup is cut out a Dutch door. This is a horizontal Dutch door where you cut close to the binding of the page. I've also done vertical Dutch doors, but I usually do those in my bullet journal. With this type of Dutch door, you have to be very careful not to cut the binding of the page. You just want to get as close as you can. For me, you'll see I cut one dot away from the binding and then just glue the excess down. I found this way works best for me because then I don't have to worry about any accidents happening with the binding coming undone or anything like that. I also like to cut the corners of my Dutch doors to be rounded so that it matches with the rest of the journal pages. The next thing I'll do is set up my calendar spread. I always like to include a calendar in my reading journal spreads, just like in my bullet journal, although they serve different purposes. I use this calendar to help record how many days it took me to read a book. I mark the beginning and end dates and then draw a line between them. Each book has a different color that I use each month so that I can keep them straight. Each box in the calendar is only a 3x3 square, but this setup works for me because I'm usually only reading 1 or 2 books at a time. It's really rare for me to read 3, so I don't need more space than this. Next, I'll start moving on to decoration. I do have other main elements that I include in each reading journal spread, but they usually depend on how many books I've read each month, so those are done at the end of the month rather than the beginning. Along with the calendar, I like to include a key, a spot for stats, and a spot for my book covers. So even though I start decorating now, you'll see I leave spaces for each of these things. That way I can include them later. I usually like to match my themes to what month I'm in or what season I'm in, especially so with my bullet journal. With my reading journal, I allow myself a little bit more creativity. Sometimes I match it to specific reading genres or what book I'm reading at the time. February contains Valentine's Day, and I did a very cute pink and purple theme in my bullet journal, so I wanted to contrast that with my reading journal this time. I chose to go with a red, black, and gold color scheme and include some darker, more gothic elements. All the materials I use for this theme will be linked in the description as long as I can still find them. Next, I'm putting in 5 labels. In these boxes, I like to include stats for the number of books I read, the number of pages I read, the average rating, the average book length, and the average time it took me to finish a book. I don't track these stats manually. Instead, I use both Storygraph and Fable to track my reading. I've left my Dutch drawer mostly open. On one side, I'll include the book covers for the books I've read this month, and on the other side, I've left space for more stats. After I finish decorating, it's time to move on to tracking the first book I read in February. The first book I read is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. First, I add it to the key, and then I update the calendar. Then I flip the page so I can start decorating its own spread. This book will get 1 full page for its review, although that's not what I do with every book. I usually only decorate spreads for books that I really enjoy, or for books where I have stationery that will really fit the theme. If I really don't like a book, or the book was really short, I'll usually only dedicate half a page for its review. I always like to start my review spreads by decorating, and then writing the review. Also, I'll never give spoilers in my voiceover for the books that I read, but the written portions do contain spoilers, so do read at your own risk. As you'll soon see, I didn't particularly like this book. I only rated it 2 stars. However, like I said before, I had a lot of materials that I thought would really fit this book, so I decided to give it a whole spread. I really liked the concept of this book, but the ending really let me down. I had this book read to me as an audiobook, and I thought the book was almost over, but then I looked at my phone and saw that there was still 2 hours left to listen to. In my opinion, this book was just one big setup for the next books in the series. And so while I didn't enjoy the ending and cliffhanger in this one, I'm still going to read the next in the series. As we come to the end of this review, thank you so much for joining me for this video and watching the whole way through. I'm going to make another video soon that will include the other books I've read for February, and will show how I finish off the main February theme. I also have another idea for a video where I'll flip through the beginning of my reading journal so you can see the yearly pages along with my January setup. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.